Today, we're going to talk about a paradox that's kind of hiding in plain sight. It's all about the people who look like they have everything figured out, but in reality, they're living on a total financial knife's edge.
Okay, just picture this scene for a second. We've all seen this person, right? Maybe you've even been this person. They're in the coffee shop, they look sharp, they've got the latest tech, they're ordering the fancy coffee. On the surface, they're the definition of success. But what you don't see is the other side of the story, the one where they're just barely scraping by.
And that's really where our story kicks off. It's all about this huge disconnect between what things look like and what they actually are. It's this facade of modern wealth.
But here's the thing. It's not really about the coffee. The coffee isn't the problem. It's more of a symptom. It's a tiny little piece of this much bigger lifestyle. One with stability, comfort, success, that for a lot of people feels completely and totally impossible to achieve long term. So what do? You grab the one little piece of it you can afford, right here, right now.
So, you might be thinking, okay, that's just one person's story, but this is where it gets crazy. That one person in a coffee shop is actually part of a massive, shocking national trend. This isn't just an anecdote, it's a real phenomenon that's affecting millions of people, even the ones you think are doing just fine.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Just how common is this? How many people who, by all the old school metrics should be successful are actually just treading water?
The answer? 64%. I'm just going to pause there for a second, let that number really sink in. It's a huge, staggering figure.
Because we're talking about 64%, that's almost 2/3 of people earning a six-figure salary who are living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, these are people who, on paper, should be absolutely thriving, and yet they're in the exact same financial crunch as so many others.
So the obvious question is, why? How is this even happening? Well, to really get it, we need to dive into the psychology that's driving all of this. And there's a name for it: doom spending.
Now, here's the most important thing to understand about doom spending. This isn't just about people being irresponsible. It's actually a pretty logical response to a future that looks, bleak. When those huge life goals, like buying a house, feel more like a fantasy than a plan, you start to think, why not spend a little to enjoy today? It's all about finding that immediate joy when long-term security just feels impossible.
And this chart really just lays out the whole shift perfectly. The traditional path, the one our parents followed, it was so clear. You get a decent job, you buy a house, you save for retirement. But for so many people today, that path is just gone. They're completely priced out of the housing market, and saving for retirement feels like a problem for another lifetime. So the whole focus shifts from building wealth for the future to just finding some happiness in the here and now.
But this isn't just about a change in personal priorities. It's a reflection of a fundamental change in the system itself. This isn't really a story about individual failures. It's a story about a broken path to financial stability.
And that right there is the absolute core of it. We can blame people for buying expensive lattes all day long, but that's missing the forest for the trees. The real problem is that the economic system they're trying to make their way through is fundamentally different, and you could argue, fundamentally broken compared to what past generations had.
So let's look at why. Think of the traditional economic ladder. Now imagine someone sawed off a bunch of the rungs. First, young people are starting their careers already crushed under a mountain of student debt. Then they're facing housing costs that have just skyrocketed way faster than their paychecks. And to top it all off, real wages haven't really gone up, meaning every dollar you earn just doesn't go as far as it used to.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's not that people aren't trying to climb. It's that the very rungs they were supposed to use to pull themselves up are just gone. That path just doesn't exist in the same way anymore.
Which leaves us with a really big and, frankly, a pretty challenging question. If that old reliable ladder to financial security has been dismantled, what's next? What new paths, or maybe entirely new ways of thinking do we need to build so that a six-figure salary can actually mean a stable, secure life?